Traveling in a fried Combi. Da-dum-bum-bum. On a hippie trailhead full of zombie. I met a strange lady. She made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. She said, do you come from a land down under? Where women glow and men plunder. Can you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover. Yeah. Guys, I can't whistle worth beans. I just realized that. I used to be able to whistle real good, and I can't whistle worth beans now. These things that change when you get older. Hi, I'm Silver5150 on the Silver5150 channel with your Wednesday afternoon show. All right? I'm trying to give you a little bit of outback flavor, okay? The land down under, the great southern land, burn you black, that, Australia, right? Okay, quick lesson. How to speak Australian. $30 bill. $1,000 bill. Yeah. All right, that was even worse. Look, we're not here for me to do any kind of Crocodile Dundee or any kind of Greg Norman. We are here to talk about the Perth Mint. Guys, I'm going to tell you something. Perth Mint, they don't really get that much attention as far as mints go. I mean, they're one of the biggest mints out there. They've been around for a long time, like over 100 years. Okay, and they put out a lot of good stuff. And I didn't realize when I was buying everything under the sun, just how, important they were to the stacking world, to the minting world. But I mean, they're every bit as important as, the U.S. Mint or the Royal Canadian Mint or the British Royal Mint. A lot of great mints out there. But the Perth Mint probably takes care of more different territories than anyone. Even though you could argue Royal Canadian Mint puts out more stuff, more variety than the Perth Mint, but even that, you're going to spend a couple days trying to find out who's who. All right, so we have here for the stars of the day. The stars of the day are these standard bullion rounds. These are Liberty Bells from SD Bullion. Liberty Bells, and they're 3/9 fine silver, of course, 1 ounce. Okay, which look like babies compared to the mama Kilo Czech line. You guys are familiar with the Czech line here, the Kilo Czech line that I got. And look at that capsule right there. It and the 2015 Panda Proof I got, just both share premium capsules designed to look like jewelry, designed to make all this look like jewelry, because guess what? Jewelry is made from silver, so why is that not surprising? But anyway, I got it set up here in the shape of a sunflower. I've actually got it to where it's perspective. If I hold the camera back like this, you can see that the coins around it look sort of symmetrical, but it's close enough. I always like you guys to have something visually benign to look at. So you're not looking at it going, oh gosh, I wish you straightened it out. That's why I'm always fiddling with things. But, that's Silver 5150. That's how I roll. I'm very OCD, and I'm just constantly doing things and tweaking things and changing things. It drives people nuts. Trust me. People in my life, they can tell you how I move about and do things, and it drives them completely bonkers. But they keep me around anyway. All right, so that was my best cover of Men at Work, who are also very, very Australian. They're one of the biggest Australian bands from the 1980s. And, of course, that was Land Down Under. I think probably their biggest hit, even though they got a lot of great songs. If you guys haven't listened to the album Cargo, yeah, I kind of burnt that album out when I was at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Maryland, during my days going to school for the Army. A long time ago. Anyway, enough of that. So, we've got the guest. We've got the subject. And the topic today, guys, is the Perth Mint, okay? Perth Mint, one of my favorite mints, and I'm going to just go ahead and put this out there right now. I am addicted to kilos. I'm addicted to them. I'm just addicted to their mass, their size, their weight. Do you feel that? Oh, good gravy. Okay, so that's 1/3 of a pound. Totally wrecked the sunflower there. We'll try to fix that later. Anyway, and so, they're impressive coins, right out the gate. And this one right here, even though it's for the Czech Republic, it is minted through the island of Niue, okay, which is Perth Mint. Perth Mint is responsible, I believe, for the coinage that comes out for Niue into other countries that need coinage for their countries. They do that. If you need any other proof, look at that. There she is, the Queen. Yes, indeed. All right, and that says $80, okay, for Niue Island. Wow, that's a gorgeous coin, man. And that's something else I guess about kilos too. Kilos, they give you the opportunity to just look right away at all the detail on a coin, even without having to squint or put on any reading glasses, because everything is already so big. even like the texture of her hair. I mean, you may or may not like the queen, but God, look at that rendition. That is just nuts. Very, very gorgeous. Very gorgeous. The crown. Man, I can't get enough of it. So I have too many kilos. Most of them are sent off to the depository, but if you guys are interested in the kilos I have, probably the second and third videos I ever made that weren't complete disasters, has all my kilos on there. If you want to see those videos, just go all the way back into the history, and it'll be after actually the first video is all kilos too. It's 2 Libertad ultra high relief proof light kilos, okay? And so like the first 3 videos, all kilos, kilo coins. I'm completely addicted to them. I have too many of them, but you know what? That is a good problem to have. Now, on to the Perth Mint. Perth Mint opened up in 1899, okay? So that's well over 100 years ago. 1899, after some big gold deposits were found in Coolgardie and Kalgoorlie. Okay, let me try it again. Coolgardie and Kalgoorlie. Okay, 2 towns they were discovered. I'm not going to tell you. I'm like Deadpool. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but I did, and I ruined it. I hope you folks in Australia are not mad at me. I really tried. I practiced even and didn't get it. Aussie Coin Girl, Australia Stacker, just give me a break. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Okay, so before the Perth Mint was a Perth Mint, though, it was actually Australia's 3rd branch of the British Royal Mint. Okay? So the Sydney Mint and the Melbourne Mint, they were also part of that trio, but they didn't stick around. They were gone after a while, and so they're closed now. I don't know, I just get that back in there. Okay, anyway. So the way it kind of started was these big deposits were found, and it was so big that they started having people come in. So prospectors were coming in from all over Australia and then from all over the world into Western Australia, all right, to harvest the raw gold. And raw gold was out there. The diggers would come in, they would get it, and the Perth Mint would, get it from them, I guess buy it from them, and they would refine it into coins. And that was right there, of course, at the beginning of the century. So gold coins were being minted by the Perth Mint. I don't know exactly what they had on them. Let's see if we can dig in a little deeper and find out. So anyway, the gold refining at that time was going on constantly. It took place at Perth's original Hay Street address there in Perth, the Perth Mint's Hay Street address in Perth, all the way up until April 1990 here in recent years, when their operation was moved next door to a facility that's like a state-of-the-art facility right next to the old building. So between 1899 and 1931, okay, the Perth Mint struck more than 106 million gold sovereigns, okay, and nearly 735,000 half sovereigns to use as currency. Hear me out, guys. To use as currency in Australia and throughout the British Empire. So back then, even as late as 1931, they were, minting coins as currency, and people were using them to buy stuff. They were a little heavier than paper, and they were certainly heavier than credit card, but people were using the gold coins as currency to buy stuff. So I think that was pretty cool. Which, not saying that we can go back to that, because people, they are just too mired into the technological side of the house, and they want that technology, and they want the convenience and stuff. I don't know, but if you start holding gold coins and carrying them around, and people start being real nice to you because you got them, you might appreciate having them. You might want to keep them on you, something like that, as long as you got security. Silver Century to the rescue. All right, so Sir John Forrest, okay, who was the first premier of Western Australia. John Forrest was the first premier of Western Australia. He is regarded as the founding father of the Perth Mint, okay? So he was a visionary that could see the importance of gold in developing Western Australia and convinced the British government to create a branch of the Royal Mint right there in Perth, okay? So in 1896, Perth Mint's Heritage Building became one of Perth's most impressive colonial-era monuments. Just a big honking building. It's just built beautifully. It is pretty awesome. I've seen pictures of it. It possesses the highest classification from the Western Australia National Trust Office, which is a big deal. It's also one of the first buildings entered on the state's Heritage Registrar. So it is official history in Australia. The Perth Mint, that original building, it is big time in their history, in terms of especially how they developed and stuff as a nation. So, in 1931, the Perth Mint stopped making gold sovereigns when the British government abandoned their gold standard. In 1931, they abandoned it. So they just switched their business model, the Perth Mint switched their business model to crafting fine gold bullion bars, okay? And that lasted until about 1940 before the war. Well, right as the war was getting ramped up. They received an urgent telegram, by the way, from the Commonwealth Treasury in Canberra, Canberra, C-A-N-B-E-R-R-A. Perth Mint received a wire from them, and it said, could you please start minting copper coins, because we are at full capacity here in Melbourne, in the whole area, and we really need copper coins. And so Perth got that wire, and they got that transmission. They went, okay, we're the Perth Mint. We got this. So they never backed down from a challenge. So the Perth Mint, they produce hundreds of millions of Australian pennies and half pennies between 1940 and 1964. So that was all the way through the war. They also filled an order for 1.3 million shillings in 1946. And if you don't know what a shilling is, I know we've all heard of them, but a shilling is basically about a 5-gram coin, not very big at all, that's only half silver, and the rest of it is base metals. So that's what a shilling is, okay? And it probably has a flat appearance like this and a really cool design on it. All right? But even more impressive than that was when the Perth Mint met Australia's demand for decimal currency. Decimal currency. I don't know exactly what that is. I'll have to look that up and research it. But they created like 1 billion 1 to 2 cent pennies, 1 and 2 cent pennies between 1966 and 1973. So think about this. We're talking about, guys. We were talking about copper last week. We're talking about copper a little bit this week. And, you know, people were going through all this trouble to mint copper pennies. And why would you need half a penny for anything? Because half a penny used to buy you something. All right? They used to buy you something. So, anyway, they did that between 1966 and 1973. Okay? And then back in 1957, this thing is really heavy. I'm not joking, you guys. This is why I love them so much, because they have presence about them. They let you know they're in the house, and they let you know that they are of financial significance, and they can pretty much handle anything you need to do purchasing-wise. All right, sorry, sidetrack. Back in 1957, Perth had achieved something in refining that had never been surpassed up to that point. And I don't even know if it's been surpassed today, now that I think about it. These guys produced a proof plate that was 6/9 fine gold. Okay? Let's digest that for a second. 6/9 fine gold is 999,999 1/millionths fine, and the 0.0000001 percent is something else. Oh my gosh, that sounded like Star Trek. Captain's log, stardate 2.900001. I am trapped in a Klingon. Silver mine of death. Bones, give me a hand, man. I don't know what to do. Jim, this man is dead. All right, I'm losing it. Obviously, I'm losing it. But you get my drift. That is a lot of purity, okay? A lot of purity. So these guys, they produced the 6/9 fine gold, and the Royal Mint was so impressed with it, they ordered some of it and declared that it was their new benchmark at the Royal Mint in Britain. And so it's like, from that point on, it's like, how are you going to top that? Well, our benchmark is 6/9 fine. People are like, you out your mind. Okay, what? They did. So anyway, the Perth Mint remained under Britain's jurisdiction until July 1970, all right? And then it was transferred to the government of Western Australia finally in 1970. And it became officially Australian. Then in 1987, they changed their business model again, the Perth Mint did, with the creation of the Gold Corporation, incepted by the Estate Act of the Parliament. The Parliament went ahead and they ratified that. Under an agreement with the Commonwealth Treasury, meaning the country's treasury, they were allowed to mint and market gold and silver and platinum coins as Australian legal tender to investors, okay, and collectors worldwide. And this is the stuff that we're getting today when we get stuff out of the Perth Mint. So, anyway, like the famous Australian Gold Nugget coin series was launched in 1987, April of 1987. And in the first day, they were only supposed to use like 130 million ounces of gold throughout the month of June, but they actually blew through like 155,000 ounces. Did I say 130,000? Yeah. 130,000 ounces is what they were supposed to use for the month of June. In the first day, they used 155,000 ounces producing coins, and they were sold that day. You know, pre-sale. They even had pre-sale back then. Even though projections for them, you know, they were supposed to only use 130,000 ounces, they went through a lot of gold in that first day. So in 2003, they moved to their new building, okay, the state-of-the-art manufacturing facility right next to the old building, all right, on that site. And that's a very famous site now because you got both of the buildings there, and they pretty much hog the whole area because they're huge. So today, the Perth Mint produces a bunch of new coin series out there. We know a lot of them. We own a lot of them. The Kookaburra series, the Australian Koala coin series, the Platypus Platinum coin series, okay, because the Kookaburra and the koala coins, I think, are strictly silver. Maybe no, I think they've got some gold ones too now, but it's just in recent years. Anyway, Australian Platypus Platinum coin series, and then a Lunar Gold and Silver coin series. And there's a lot of different lunar coins from the Perth Mint and stuff. But I'm gonna tell you something right now. The kilos, guys, the kilos are the bomb. These are their presence. They will not be ignored. You cannot ignore this. You could possibly go, especially if there's no base metal coins around. If there's a bunch of nickels, dimes, and quarters around, and some, zinc pennies, you have one of these, you go like, bam, and people are impressed because it's bigger than anything on the table, anything like that. But these, compared to that, they're nothing. They're something, but it's just no comparison. Good gravy. I am totally impressed with that. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I'm totally impressed with that. All right, so in addition to the coins I just mentioned, they also have a proof collector series. The Perth Mint does here in recent days, featuring iconic Australian designs, commemorative coins for international Australian anniversaries. These coins, the proof coins, of course, as you would expect, are pricey as heck. I had some, but I don't have them anymore. I flipped all of them for regular bullion coins, and I got a lot more of this and less of that. Okay, but I got enough of this. I got a lot of this stuff in kilos and stuff. All right, guys. So that is the Perth Mint. I'm gonna share a little something with you that I had an epiphany today. I was sitting there and I was doing my research and stuff, and I was looking at pictures of this place, looking at pictures of Perth, and my goodness, well, at least the photos I saw, this is not a small town. This thing is probably as big. Perth is probably as big as, I don't know, Boston maybe. Boston, maybe DC. It's a pretty big city. Got a lot of big buildings and stuff. I'd say Dallas or something like that, because it's out there, in the open and stuff, and but it's very close to the coast. And in fact, I think it is an actual coastal city. And then I was thinking about how much I love the Perth Mint, and I was thinking about living out there in the ocean. And I've always wanted to do something international. I want to live somewhere international. You guys know I'm always talking about picking up properties and stuff with my many ounces as things start to get better and these prices start to get better. And by the way, did we talk about the markets today? Did you guys see oh my gosh, I forgot to manage my blackness. Hang on. Did you see the markets today? Did you see? Yes, they were fluctuating all over the place. Man, it's too hard. Man, forget that. I'm gonna tell you, silver and gold got to moving on Powell's news that, they weren't sure about stimulus, and they were sure about stimulus, but they were going to keep interest rates where they were until forever, like 2022. Going to keep interest rates low for a projected 2 years. Who does that? That tells you right there that everything's weak in the terms of currency and all of the derivatives we talk about. Everything is weak. And so they had to come out in a minute without saying it. But man, once the market smelled that, of course, stocks started heading down south. They couldn't handle the pressure because they're just fluffed up with air anyway. And then, of course, precious metals were sitting there. They were trying to take off. If you watch the markets, if you watch the tickers, you could see that the numbers were gyrating back and forth, not just upward or downward, but back and forth, trying to take off from the launch pad. And again, the COMEX contract, monkeys, they were there. They were selling silver like crazy. If you go and you look on that Dania.com, you can see where they were selling crazy contracts just to keep a price of gold and silver contained, so they didn't get out of control today on the news that the Fed's going to keep interest rates low for the next 2 years. Now, what does that mean for the dollar? If you're going to keep interest rates low for that long, that means that the dollar is not that strong, and people are not going to be investing in a dollar because saving in dollars is not going to get you a lot of interest. It's as simple as that. It's like your cash savings in the bank. You tell the banks that we're going to stay at 0.25% nominal interest rate, and then the banks will be like, okay, cool. Then we're going to pay our customers 0.00001. There's that captain's log again, 0.00001% in interest, which is nothing when parsed against real world inflation, which is like 6%. Okay. So the Fed, they've committed to the fact that the dollar, they have lost it. They can't, bring it back to any real strength anymore. They can just try to keep the ticker high, keep it up in the 90s and stuff. But it's going to start heading down south, guys. And we're finally going to see the revaluation or the new valuations in gold and silver we keep talking about. I know I preach every day, guys. $600, $1,100. You just wait, man. You're going to be able to buy a Lamborghini with this coin right here. I know. And I'm going to go ahead and keep saying it. I'm going to temper it a little bit here and there. But when we start ramping up, you're gonna be hearing more of it. You're gonna be hearing more of it. If you're still listening to the channel, I lose subscribers every day. That's okay, because that's life. People decide that they're into something, they decide they're not into something. A lot of people like new things all the time. I'm guilty of it too, so I don't have any problem with it. But I'm just telling you, the day is coming, of course, when indeed, this will be a $30 bill, all right, which will probably be like this month. And then who knows where something like this is going to go. And, I'm going to tell you, I had a cockamamie, somebody calls my ideas cockamamie. I had a cockamamie idea of if you wanted to make like a big land deal. So say, for instance, you're going to pick up some land in the Midwest, or you're going to pick up a coastal property. When I go to pick up my coastal property, I hope I'm not talking too fast. I had some coffee earlier. When I go to pick up my coastal properties, I envision myself having a briefcase. And in that briefcase are these formed, hardened foam cutouts that is going to hold, suspended, perfectly and solidly, 6 of these kilos. And some will be collectors, some will be just basic bullion kilos. I got a bunch of kookaburras. And you walk with the briefcase, and it weighs, oh my gosh, like 40 pounds, but you don't look like it because you're like cool cat wearing an Italian suit, Italian loafers, right, Fred? And you just walk up, and then they're like, okay, well, we want to sell, but, we want to make sure we get a good deal. And you flip open that lid and like, oh my God, is that 6? I didn't even think you could get those. Okay, where do we sign? And that's the deal. You get your coastal home there in, Honolulu. Maybe a condo, 30 feet up, off the coast there in Honolulu. Why not? I'm telling you, if you're going to stack big, you're going to have to learn to dream big, because it's coming. And I told you guys, when it hits, when the quickening hits for us to start selling and buying and flipping over and rolling over the assets, it's going to be lightning fast. Lightning fast. We're going to be sitting there, we're going to be swapping, locations and swapping information, trying to figure out who can get what, this sort of thing. Now, guys, I'll be honest with you. I know I say 4 ounces to your name, but if you're going to get into the asset rollover game, you're going to have to do a little bit better than 4 ounces. But 4 ounces still puts you ahead of 99% of the game. It does. But you want to be in the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, okay? And you don't want to be like the selfish plugs that are in the 1% of the 1% right now. You want to be better than that, but you still want to access these things that are going to enrich your family's life and help you bless other people. You can donate to hospitals and do all that stuff, too. But in the meantime, you need to first, gather the stuff you need to have a good quality life. All right. So I'm not saying you need to stack big, but you do need to stack aggressive. And that means shopping aggressive, which is why we try to keep the specials and stuff out there for people to take advantage of. If I'm not mistaken, Provident right now, they still have the 10th ounce wedge tail gold coins available for, I think, under $200. And then, of course, the Silvertown Buffaloes are probably around 2070, 2080 now, because we had that big jump in precious metals today. Let's hope it keeps going. Let's hope it keeps going, because I look at my APMEX portfolio and I go, hey, I'm not doing too bad. I could do a little more, but I'll be cool for a bit. But, it all adds up. It all adds up. Pick up what you can while you can. Add it to your stack. Don't even look back at your stack. Just stack, and then look back every once in a while and go, oh, wow, that escalated quickly. And enjoy that. Enjoy that. Speaking of enjoyment, tomorrow on the morning update, we're going to see if we can make sense of the market action today, what exactly happened, what exactly Powell said, and maybe there's some follow-up through into the morning. And that'll make things interesting. And then, it's finally here. It's finally here. The coolest coin design I've ever seen. My Coronas. And we'll see you tomorrow.